Hello! Today I am doing an informative speech about tennis, including the basics, history, US Open, rules, and the point system. Chris Cermak wrote an article in 2019 called The Basics of Tennis. He said that a game begins when two players on opposite sides of the net serve a ball across the net into an area known as the service box. The service box is marked by the beginning of the net and the line in the middle of the tennis court, pictured here. A player is given two serves to serve across the net. If a player misses a serve, it is known as a fault. If the player misses his or her second serve, it is called a double fault. So, a lot of people know how to play tennis, but not many people know the history of the sport. In a brief history of tennis by Andy Murray in 2017, he talks about how tennis was codified by the English in the 1870s, and tennis, the word tennis comes from the French word tennis, which is a word that French people would use when they would serve the ball. The word tennis stems from the English word hold. Charlotte Cooper was the first female player to serve the ball overhanded. Before, players would serve the ball underhanded, and after seeing how she served, that became the typical way to begin a tennis game. She was also the first female player to sign her name in the Olympic record book on July 11th, 1900. As you can see here, this is the famous tennis court oath that happened in France during the French Revolution in 1789, which was long before tennis became an official sport. Before a period known as the Open Era, tennis was simply a sport that was played by professional teams, but there was no tournaments. And then in 1881, the Grand Slam was established along with the US Open. You might be surprised to find out that before the 1980s, tennis rackets were made out of wood. And soon after, materials like steel, graphite, and carbon were used in tennis rackets, which were more lightweight but offered more power in serves and returns. In Dina Everly's article, How Many Matches Are Played in the US Open Tennis?, you would be surprised to find out that in Melbourne, Australia, this is where the first tennis tournament takes place, in the Australian Open, followed by the French Open in Paris, the Wimbledon tournament in England, and a tournament in America called the US Open. In Joe Rivera's article, Tennis Scoring Explained, a guide to understanding the rules, terms, and point system at Wimbledon, you can see that games are played in 3 different sets on a best of 6 points. However, in professional games, it is played in best of 5 tournaments. As you can see here, this is a game that you would see in a best of 3 tournament. Also, according to Joe Rivera's article, each game is won by scoring 4 points, which can be earned in a variety of ways, as you can see here. And it is scored up to 40 instead of 45, if you haven't noticed that. A lot of people wonder why, when the English codified the sport, they believed that 4 points equaled 40, or a score of 40 in tennis. But, of course, there are a variety of ways to score a point. A ball can land outside of the court or inside of the court. And it is up to you if, in this picture, you believe that the ball landed outside of the court or inside. You may also be surprised to learn that tennis can be played in 2 different ways. According to Paul Goodman's article, Tennis Singles versus Doubles, which is more difficult, he talks about the different advantages and disadvantages to playing tennis singles or doubles. Anyway, thank you for listening. During my speech, we talked about the basics of tennis, the history of the sport, the US Open, rules and scoring, and the sport is meant to be a fun activity for anyone who chooses to play. Thank you again.